The episode starts with the Straw Hat Pirates and their friends on the seashore, where they are playing. Suddenly, Lumi rushes in and informs them that she has very important news about Luffy. His friends are surprised and ask her about her excessive excitement. She explains that Luffy's fiancée is in town and will stay for a long time. She describes her as an attractive woman who is older than Luffy and has a very slim body. She mentions how she treats Luffy like a possession, wearing him like a ring on her finger. The scene shifts to Luffy and his fiancée, Lycoris. Luffy wants to take her to his favorite place, which is the kitchen where he bakes all the sweets she loves. This kitchen is his dream workshop. Lycoris is surprised by this and seems to love the place as well. She enters with enthusiasm to watch him. Next, we move to the fortress of Huberic, where Huberic is seen with his assistant. His assistant informs him about Miss Petra being sent to the capital to strengthen the Duke's family's confidence. However, they are puzzled about the purpose of sending Miss Lycoris to Mortland province. Huberic expresses his annoyance with Reitish, who is plotting things in the shadows and has plans related to her future son-in-law. He mentions that this intelligent woman has realized the potential of Mortland province. Huberic suddenly invites him to a tea ceremony, and it's clear that he has some intentions involving this invitation. He sends Miss Lycoris to Mortland to accompany him during the ceremony. As for the cunning woman, it will be difficult for her to approach Mr. Luffy with his fiancée present. Huberic also has a paternal desire to move his daughter to a safer place to protect her from harm. He then asks his assistant about their neighbors in Lucharat, and Huberic suspects that they will receive news about the Duke's engagement with open arms. The focus returns to Luffy and Lycoris in the kitchen. Lycoris watches Luffy enthusiastically as he prepares samples for a new gift. He wants to bring these gifts to the tea party hosted by Count Reitish. Luffy continues preparing his sweets by putting a pot on the fire, adding sugar, and then some water. Lycoris looks at the fruits on the table and recognizes the banca fruit. So, Bess told her that the banca can only be obtained in the capital city, as it's very expensive and rare. He had to save up his allowance for months in advance to allow his father to buy the banca. Then she asked him about what he was doing on the fire. Bess replied that she would know when he's done with it. He flipped it on the fire multiple times until a beautiful aroma emerged from it, which they both enjoyed. Then Bess added honey to it, filling the air with a delightful scent. It was undoubtedly a type of sweet treat. Bess asked her to wait, promising that she would be amazed. When Bess finished crafting it on the fire, he poured it onto a plate. This was the most challenging part, as he had to pour a little of it everywhere on the plate. As he finished pouring, Bess seemed very excited about this confectionery. It was definitely beautiful and pristine. Then Bess explained that this sweet treat is called skaker, and it looked like glass. Finally, Bess added the finishing touch, molding it as he liked. The first time he shaped it into a cat, the second into a dog, the third into a rabbit, the fourth into an airplane, and the last into the shape of a peony flower. But, of course, Licorice didn't know what an airplane looked like, as it didn't exist in their world. Then Bess spoke about the importance of shaping the skaker after it had slightly solidified. If it remained melted, the design would be ruined. Thus, it was essential to work on it at the right time. Licorice remarked that Bess was very mysterious. She had seen many expressions on his face before, but this was a new one, gentle, innocent, and confident, a mix of everything. Bess presented all his sweets and then asked Licorice if there was something wrong with them. She told him that everything was perfect and that she didn't want to ruin the food's beauty by eating it. Bess insisted that she should eat it because that was the purpose of the skaker. However, Licorice refused to eat it because she admired its appearance and wanted to preserve it. Bess's mother and friends were observing him. The mother angrily wondered why Bess wasn't acting more aggressively toward Licorice, given how close they seemed to be getting. Then the young boy asked them not to talk too much so Bess wouldn't hear them. Lumi mentioned that Bess was preparing something delicious, and they all went to see him. They witnessed Bess making sweets and sprinkling sugar on apples, creating a beautiful presentation. Licorice tried the treat and was delighted by its refreshing flavor, especially after having become accustomed to sweetness. Bess explained that the delightful balance was the key attraction of this dessert, and Licorice happily remarked that it was delicious in a different way from eating banka alone. Later, Bess tried to open the door and accidentally bumped into his mother. Bess questioned why they were standing there, and his mother explained that she had work to do and wanted them to leave quickly. As Bess left, his friends rushed to the sweets, but he grabbed the plate and didn't let them taste it, planning to give it to his father and Chits. The next morning, Chits talked to Casol about the young boy who arrived as the guardian. Casol stated that a beginner like Nicolo could handle the matter. This episode held significance with important individuals present, leading to a social gathering. Chits informed Casol that they were discussing Count Richelieu. When asked why Bess couldn't handle his own matters, Chits revealed that he worried more for Licorice. Chits mentioned that Chiara would accompany her, though she didn't enjoy social gatherings. Chits hoped she wouldn't attempt to demean Chiara's intelligence. Finally, Bess arrived at the palace and was surprised to find numerous sweets on the table, impressing Licorice. She explained that the lady present was known for Richvale Castle, one of the greatest in the south, also called the Pirates' Castle due to its proximity to the sea. Bess engaged in self-dialogue, imagining sweets everywhere. The lady then informed Bess that he was her companion's betrothed, Licorice, and advised him to remain attentive and vigilant. Bess apologized for not noticing her earlier. As he looked to his left, he saw a portrait of Count Richelieu. He recalled drawing that picture on a handkerchief but never expected it to be displayed in such a grand setting. He realized that this was somewhat intentional, and Count Richelieu seemed to be planning something significant. At that moment, a large man arrived and warmly welcomed Bess, expressing honor in his presence. Bess was told that Count Richelieu's happiness required him to show respect and esteem when meeting Bess. The man also mentioned that Bess was a very important person, and they were keeping a close watch on him. At that moment, Bess was intrigued by the peculiar statements. He pondered to himself that this was a great opportunity to promote Mortaline's specialized expertise. Bess introduced his fiancée, Licorice Milhoperick, who hadn't attended such noble gatherings before. She agreed to accompany him, as she always enjoyed exploring new places. Licorice warmly welcomed everyone and introduced herself. Bess then introduced the man as Quatun Engels. Quatun loudly announced Bess and Licorice to the audience, hoping for an enthusiastic reception due to Bess's young age but remarkable intelligence. Quatun had brought a sizable gift, considering it fitting for the tea time. He believed these small confections, called sukakar, would complement the tea well. As they tasted and savored the treats, everyone was amazed by their beauty and taste. Even Quatun tried one and was thoroughly impressed, laughing and seemingly indulging in a flood of sweetness. The scent was sweet and gentle, filling the air and suiting the tea. Everyone was content while drinking tea. Bess then informed them that these samples were free, but those interested could purchase more through traveling merchants at an attractive price. However, Bess had one request, that these traders wouldn't have to pay taxes on the sugar, as the taxes on sugary goods were exorbitant. At that moment, Count Richelieu entered, welcoming Bess. Upon hearing the offer, she found it very tempting and thanked everyone for attending the modest gathering. She expressed her happiness at finally meeting the Count. Then she asked if Licorice was Bess's fiancé, and he confirmed, making her pleased as she recognized her. Count Richelieu mentioned her interest in hearing more about the commercial matters Bess was discussing earlier. Bess claimed he was only discussing gifts, and Richelieu asked for a private conversation. She indicated that the matter concerned negotiations between Bess's family and the Mortaline family, which ultimately required the young lady to stay there for a while. She asked Quatun to introduce Licorice to her with the utmost respect. Although Licorice was initially anxious and held Bess's hand, he assured her that there was no need to worry. Bess then left with Count Richelieu to a private chamber, where she informed him that she was the leader of Richvale province. Bess asked the lady, "Do you think I will be coerced, Your Excellency?" She confirmed that, indeed, he would have been compelled if it weren't for the fact that she had arranged for guards that were 10 times the number present. She explained that a handful of guards was nothing against a wielder of magic. Bess thought to himself, "Don't show me any signs of weakness at all." She further mentioned that she was just a weak woman and it was essential for her to be cautious whenever possible. Bess decided to offer her one of the confections. He got up, presented it to her, and invited her to try one. She tasted it and found it exquisite, its flavor refined. She claimed to have consumed many sweets accompanying tea in her life, but this confection deserved all the praise. Bess thanked her for the compliment and informed her that he had prepared it. Count Richelieu then informed Bess that the flavor was honey. Bess was surprised by her knowledge and explained that it was indeed made from water, sugar, and honey. He hoped that they could eventually produce all the ingredients in Mortaline. She was surprised as Bess was referring to producing honey and sugar in Mortaline. He speculated that they could potentially produce these confections in large quantities within 3 years. The lady was taken aback, thinking sarcastically about them producing such treats in the barren land. However, she knew it might be possible. Bess explained that since she possessed a harbor, he had hoped for her support in this endeavor. He had used an indirect approach to bring up the matter. She realized that Bess was meticulous in his observations, as usual. She pondered if it was even feasible, but wondered if his goal was something much more significant in the future. She agreed to provide all the assistance she could, but solely regarding these confections. Bess was thrilled and thanked her. She thought to herself, "Your future will be in my hands." Returning to the gathering, an assistant of Count Richelieu remarked that Mr. Bess seemed to be the talk of the event. It's clear that he has gained many new admirers, and he's confident that he will forge some new connections from this occasion. Kirara, Bess's fiancée, expresses astonishment at these words. Bess excuses himself from the conversation and leaves. As he departs, Kirara approaches and advises her to ignore them, emphasizing that the young man accompanying her isn't worth listening to. She overhears someone mentioning that Mr. Bess's fiancée is Margrave Hoberich's daughter, hailing from the esteemed family of the East. Feeling uncomfortable in such situations, Kirara walks away. She had come under the assumption that Bess would be accompanying her. The young man approaches her and asks if she'd like something to drink. She replies that she just wants to return home. Meanwhile, Bess is with Count Richelieu. Bess expresses his pleasure in working with her, and she reciprocates the sentiment. Bess wonders about Count Richelieu's commercial relationships, thinking that her support could be more beneficial than he anticipated. He's getting closer to mass-producing the confections. Count Richelieu remarks that his charming fiancée heard that he protected her during the abduction incident, and she might have developed feelings for him. Bess expresses uncertainty about that. Count Richelieu adds that she seems very suitable for the next ruler of Mortaline. Bess retorts that no man could complain about having Lycurys as their life partner. Count Richelieu is amused by Bess's early maturity. She questions him about his true feelings for her, and he's embarrassed to admit his love. She grasps his hands and insists he confess his genuine emotions. However, before he can respond, his fiancée suddenly enters the scene. She sees Bess being held by this woman and assumes they're embracing. Bess's fiancé is taken aback, not knowing that this malicious woman orchestrated the entire situation. Bess is speechless, and it's unclear how he will navigate this challenging situation. The episode ends with a promise that the outcome will be revealed in the next episode.